What's up, everybody, and welcome to another summer episode of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and today we were joined by Edmonton Oilers goalie Calvin Pickard. And Colby, I know you weren't there, and Calvin actually did clarify that it is pronounced Pickard, so you don't have to go back and forth now for the rest of your broadcasting online show career. You can now call him Calvin Pickard. Because I feel like, honestly, if you were there, you'd be like, oh, all the time. I just go back and forth between Pickard and Pickard. I feel like you would have said that. It's good to see you, by the way. Hang tight. I'm going to grab my water bottle that I forgot.
The thing is that with Calvin, we were in training camp together as young men. So, when I met Calvin, I actually knew his brother Chet first. His brother Chet, I think, was a first-round pick by Nashville before Calvin. And Chet was best buddies with Colin Wilson. And Colin, they're Winnipeg guys. And so I got to know his brother first. And, Colin always called him Picks and called him Chet Pickard, never Pickard. So it was very, very hard for me to switch back. Cause when I met the brothers, it was Pickard, not Pickard. And I know now, this is, man, guys do this in the NHL.
Yeah,
Brad Marchand, Marshy is the king of it, changing his pronunciation year in and year out of his career. So we will get to that interview. We do have some other things to get into first, and then you'll toss to that here somewhere down the line.
Yeah, a lot of things to catch up on. I mean, it feels like it's been a long time since we've talked. This actually is our first Tuesday night before Wednesday show. We both had busy summers. It feels like we've recorded on a lot of Sundays, but we are recording right now at 8:32 p.m. on August 19th, Tuesday night. So as you're listening to this, it's last night. If you're listening on Wednesday, we saw the top 20 NHL defenseman list come out. That got a lot of people, especially me, up in arms. We saw the USA camp list invite for the 2026 Olympic Games come out. Some names that might be a little bit surprising, some names that aren't as surprising on there, which we'll discuss. Milan Lucic signs a PTO at the St. Louis Blues, which I don't really understand why the Blues did that, to be honest. And the USA on a tear right now. USA Hockey. They won the Gretzky Hlinka tournament. They won.
In theory, the Hlinka team would be the B team. In theory, I'm not saying it is, but going back as far as even for me, they don't take the national team kids to the Hlinka tournament. They take the other group, the next group, and I've heard a lot of people say that Hlinka team could beat the national team. I've heard that, but it is impressive to see our next group of guys beat a U18 Canadian team, which
second time ever they've won it too.
Yeah, which had Verhoff and some of these other guys. So it's definitely been a heater for USA. But we're going to talk about this U.S. Olympic group that came out today. They still didn't beat Canada in the world in the Four Nations. As much fun as we're all having right now, the biggest event, the biggest game, the Americans didn't get it done. I mean, we're both sitting here wearing proudly USA Hockey, gear.
That's actually coincidence for me. I didn't even realize that I was doing that.
I mean, and for me too, I just threw this hat on as I was making my way down to my office. But it is interesting how that did come out today. And I don't know, do you want to start with the Adam Fox thing? I don't think we need to spend a ton of time.
I think we're on the USA Hockey thing. Let's go with that.
I didn't even see that. And I think Adam Fox
you did.
Well, I saw my social media blowing up because I think you started tagging me in things, which I don't like when you do. You did it to me again today.
I did it today, but I don't remember tagging
you. You dragged me into Twitter beefs and Twitter debates that I'm not. Here's the thing. I don't have my notifications on for any of my social media. So I have to go into the app, but I always
that's weird because you seem to text me right away when I post on Instagram every time.
Well, your Instagram, I have warnings for. There's a siren that goes off in my house when you post something on Instagram. Only Instagram. No, but let's talk about this USA Hockey thing. And my initial reaction to the U.S. putting out this group, which is, the players that are invited to the orientation camp. Now, is there an on-ice component at this orientation camp? I would assume so, right? I don't know.
I would think.
So you've got 24 forwards and you've got 16 defensemen, and you've got 4 goaltenders that were invited to this orientation camp. Ultimately, the team is going to look like, I guess 14-8, I guess they would take, or is it 14-7 or 13-8? I don't know exactly where the roster limits lie.
Mm-hmm.
But what Jonny and I did was we basically picked our team who we would take. And we did this without talking to each other. We sent it to Vic privately so we could see how ours match up. But before we go there, I do think it's crazy that Lane Hudson is not at this orientation camp. And I don't think there's any, would I put him on the team? I would not put him on the team because there's other players that bring that type of offense that are better than he is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, and Brady Shea is a friend of mine, a guy that I love, but Brady's closer to the back 9 here than the front 9. And Brady Shea is not going to make the Olympic team. Okay. And so if you know that you have this young guy in Lane Hudson that's probably on the next Olympic team, okay, if he progresses, why not bring him to the camp? He's a USA Hockey guy. He's a national team development kid. This was strange to me after the season that he had, that they wouldn't bring him to this camp. Now, am I being a biased BU homer right now, Jonny, or do you agree with anything that I'm saying as far as just getting him there for the experience of being there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard to disagree with that, especially when you see a name like Frank Nazar on the list too for the forwards, right? Like Frank Nazar hasn't necessarily proven himself in the NHL yet.
But he had an amazing World Championships. He was incredible at the World Championships.
But you're talking about the guy who just won the Rookie of the Year in the NHL.
Right, exactly.
So it's like, how can you have one and not the other? That said, again, I don't think Lane Hudson has a purpose on this team when you have Quinn Hughes and Zach Werenski.
Completely.
He's not that's just a fact.
For sure.
So, but based on what you're saying, it's hard to disagree. Should he have been invited over, let's say a guy like Jackson Lacombe, who probably deserves to be there as well, but he's still not really proven. Yeah. I think that's more of a slap in the face than anything that Lacombe is there and Lane Hudson's not.
But I'd argue with Lacombe, Lacombe's probably on the next Olympic team. People don't know people don't know how good he is because he plays in Anaheim. I think if Anaheim were to get good and people started paying attention, again, the Olympics.
Well, people who watch Anaheim know how good he is.
The Olympics they're going to be every 4 years, right? So,
yeah.
Ryan McDonough, for example, Mac is out. He's going to be retired by the next Olympics, most likely, right? So you start thinking and you start moving some of these names off the board. Not that I think Mac's going to make the team, actually. So I'm almost, I'm just kind of talking out loud here. But I don't know, how old is Jacob Slavin? What year is he?
He's probably around 28, I would think.
Okay, so he's probably still good at 32 to play. Yeah. But I mean, again,
also, wait, I just want to backtrack for a second. I didn't mean any shade at Jackson Lacombe, by the way. I think he's going to be an unbelievable player, but I think Lane Hudson deserves to be there right now over him. That's all I'm saying. Okay,
Slavin's 31 years old right now. So the next Olympics, you're talking about a 35, 36-year-old guy. Okay?
Yeah, but also these are guys that are probably making I think McDonough is going to make this team. I think Slavin's obviously making this team. So what's your point in that argument? What you should invite them because they won't be the next one?
My point is that the next Olympic team is good. There's going to be a passing of the torch.
For sure.
Sure, you would expect Quinn Hughes to still be on the next team, right? Yes. You would expect, I don't know, how old is Zach Werenski?
He's younger than me.
He's younger than you?
Yeah, I believe so. 1 year younger. I think he's a 97.
You'd expect him to be on the team, but you'd expect Luke Hughes to push in the next Olympics. You'd expect Vlasic.
He's invited.
pushed in the next Olympics. But Luke Hughes isn't going to make this team this year. Okay, in my opinion, he's not going to make this team this year. So, like, I just think that like Brady Shea would have probably been the guy for me. Where you're like, and again, I'm talking about a guy that I think is an amazing human being and he's a good hockey player. But I think why not bring Lane Hudson? That's I think he's deserved his opportunity. I was glad to see Alex Vlasic invited. I don't think he's making the team, but I certainly was happy to see him there. Anybody for you, Jonny, like that you felt like wasn't invited to the orientation camp that you thought was like how? Other than Hudson, that you're like, how's this guy not even invited to the orientation camp?
Nobody that I thought off the top of my head, which was like an obvious one. Like Hudson is the obvious one to me, but
I have another one, so I'll hold it though until I put my team out. Well,
I was gonna go into that and say like, who's the one guy that wasn't invited that I think could push to maybe make the team?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to get into that conversation? Because I have a guy for that, obviously.
Sure. Who's that guy for you?
That guy for me is Anthony Stolarz. Listen, the four goalies that are there, Joey Decord, Connor Hellebuck, Jay Ottinger, and Jeremy Swayman, like, while the three on the right, Decord obviously has had some decent success in the NHL, not necessarily consistent success. But Hellebuck, everyone knows what goes on with him in the big games and the playoffs and whatnot. Like, that's, kind of written a story of itself. Ottinger didn't have a very impressive playoffs either. And Swayman, while he did well and won the world championships, we didn't see him in the playoffs this year. While Stolarz, to me, had a great season and probably helps the Leafs. Maybe, I mean, they definitely have a better chance, I think, if Stolarz is healthy against the Panthers. Like, Stolarz was playing pretty lights out in the playoffs. He had a great season this year. And obviously, it's going to be easier to make the team when there are four goalies versus, let's say, 10 defensemen, 14 forwards. Like, that the goalie position is probably an easier way to stand out. Like, if Stolarz is lights out to start this year for Toronto, like, it's going to be hard to deny him that third spot potentially. I think, because in the four nations, like, I don't even think Swayman got in a game.
I think the starting goaltender, a guy who I think could be the starting goaltender, wasn't invited to the camp, and it isn't Anthony Stolarz. It's Thatcher Demko.
Yeah.
I mean, if Thatcher Demko's healthy.
Yeah. Is that the name you were going to say that's left off?
Yeah. I mean, to me, he could be the starter if he's healthy.
Yeah.
I think,
and you said that before. That's not a surprise. You said that before.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. So Vic, why don't you put our lists up here, and then we can see where we were different. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, these are not lines; these are alphabetical order. And so, the other thing to mention here, Matthew Tkachuk is not on this orientation list because he's not healthy right now. And I think we both expect Matthew Tkachuk to play in the Olympics. And so my question for you, and I'll read Johnny's names for those that are audio only. It's Boldy, Connor, Eichel, Gensel, Hughes, Kane, Keller, Nyes, Larkin, Matthews, Miller, Thompson, Tkachuk, and Trocheck. So I'm asking you here, who are you dropping for Matthew Tkachuk? Because one of them is going to have to go for Matthew Tkachuk.
I think it's either Patrick Kane or Clayton Keller, because to me, they're like two of the same player. Obviously, one of them is a younger version. But here's my issue, or not my issue, but here's my conversational point with Patrick Kane. Obviously, he's left off of four nations. But if Patrick Kane is healthy and producing, how do you leave the guy who will probably be the American-born forward with the most points in the history of the NHL at the end of this season? He's 48 points away. How do you leave him off the Olympic team and what will be his last chance to represent USA hockey? Like, he's not going to play in the Olympics 4 years from now. I just think we both know hockey can get very political at times, and that's going to be a very hard decision for the staff to make if Patrick Kane is producing for Detroit. Like, how do we leave this guy who again, 48 points away from being the American-born forward or American-born skater with the most points in the history of this game? How do they leave him off the roster?
Yeah,
I think it's out of respect and out of like what we know hockey can be like at times. That's a very, very hard decision to make.
Yeah, it's a hard decision, but why don't you well, we'll stay on Kane here
What?
because what I was going to say is why don't you go to my group, but we haven't done the defense for your team yet. Here's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
As hard of a decision as it is, Johnny, one or two of the things that we learned at the Four Nations Cup was you can't
have too much of the same player,
and you got to be able to skate.
Yeah.
And I just don't know at that pace, like, is Kane playing in your top 6 at that pace? And that's why, and you can put my forward grouping up here. You can put my forwards up here. Like, I left Kane off. He was not a guy that I put on here. And I'll read my list here. It's Boldy, Caulfield, Connor, Eichel, Gensel, Hughes, Keller, Nyes, Larkin, Matthews, Miller, Thompson, Tkachuk, and Trocheck. Now, when Matthew Tkachuk becomes healthy, for me, it's Cole Caulfield who comes off the board. Just because I look around and I think about how we can mix this group up and where you can have your scoring and where you can have, because you got to play heavy. Like, Four Nations was heavy. Now, I don't think the Olympics will be as heavy because you won't have NHL referees. So I just don't think you're going to be able to see that same style. Mm-hmm. But I do think the margin for error, and it's going to be thin. And look, Miller can play with sandpaper at the bottom of your lineup as a center. Trocheck can do that. Larkin can do that. I like having those guys. And then you have those more offensive guys with Matthews and with Eichel. The Tkachuk boys, I think you stick Eichel right between the Tkachuk boys. And then, you find a pairing for Austin Matthews. And I think Tage Thompson and Keller, there's a maturity to Keller's game that Cole Caulfield,
I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league.
There's just a maturity that Cole Caulfield doesn't have yet, right? And I think Keller can score. I think Thompson can score. But I think both of those guys know how to play heavier and tighter than Caulfield knows how to play. And so, that's where our groups differ a little bit. But I think Matthew Nyes is a no-brainer. Let
me ask you a question. If you're picking between Keller, Caulfield, and Kane, and you're sitting in that room and you're thinking about what we just talked about before, Keller and Caulfield will be on the next team, probably without a doubt, 4 years from now. I would think this is Patrick Kane's last chance to represent USA hockey. How do you just and really it's three of a very similar style player.
I just I hear you, but if you're Bill Guerin, you're not worried about.
I'm taking Clayton Keller probably right now between the three. I think Clayton Keller is the best player of the three.
And that's why I had Keller on my team. I understand where your heart is with Patrick Kane.
My heart is actually with Keller. My mind is with Kane. I'm putting myself in the brains of everybody else in USA hockey, and
I'd look at it differently. If you're taking Kane, you're thinking with your heart. If you're taking Keller, you're thinking with your head. That's at least the way I would view it. Look, Patrick Kane he's a Mount Rushmore player. I have.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's a Mount. I mean, I'm not saying he's one of 4 guys on the history of hock's Mount Rushmore. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's a Mount Rushmore type of player for me. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He's done everything in this game. He's scored point after point, highlight after highlight. Again, 3 Stanley Cups, right? He is a first ballot, close your eyes, Hall of Famer, top probably 25 player of all time in the National Hockey League.
I also will say, if you ask the 2000 birth years to the 2000 and let's say 4 birth years, maybe that's too young. 2000 birth year for sure, and maybe 2003, 2002. Their favorite player for the most part, if you were an American kid in that birth year, is Patrick Kane.
Yeah, listen, of course, as an American guy, obviously, but my point, listen, I'm calling him a Mount Rushmore type of guy. I'm not putting him on the forefathers of the NHL with Gretzky, but I'm just saying, he's a Mount Rushmore type of guy. But I'm picking this team to win, and I'm not doing it with feelings. And Kaner's just, to me, he's not going to make the cut. He just doesn't play at that pace anymore. I think other players have a hard time with him just because of he slows it down. Like certain players can play with him the right way. Like look at Alex DeBrincat. He's literally made that guy's career. You don't see him on this list. He was supposed to be like the next thing for USA Hockey. I don't see who you're putting him on here for. Maybe people would argue like Pinto, like I don't know, but I think Pinto's a guy they're like, you know what, in 4 years he might be our third or fourth line, bottom six player on this Olympic team in four more years.
And what I will say about Shane too, like, from talking to him, I was actually texting with him today, but talking to him after the playoffs, like they made him a lockdown defensive forward.
Yeah. Was he surprised that he made this camp?
I didn't ask him that specifically, but I know he's fucking fired up. Also, like he's spent a lot of time in the summers lately, the last 2 years, like in that Nova Scotia group with like Crosby and McKinnon. Like I think him and Crosby are boys now, which is like pretty cool.
Yeah, getting invited into one of those groups is
because of Batherson. Jake Batherson's tight with them. He's from there. But Shane is gonna be. I think Shane is going to turn into one of those like really good lockdown defensive forwards. Like
which is where
name we could kind of think of.
Well, and he'll score points in the NHL, and then you get to the US team, and it's like JT Miller. Like JT Miller is going to have to be a more defensive player on this team, and I'm picking him and I'm putting him on the team. Like no doubt.
Yeah.
So we're not far off. It's interesting. Neither of us went down the Jason Robertson hole.
No.
We both had Kyle Connor on the team after Four Nations.
Both took off Brock Nelson. Both took off Kreider.
We took off Kreider, Nelson. Tuck was a little. If this was a Four Nations tournament, I'm probably making room for Alex Tuck. If it's a Four Nations with NHL refereeing, I'm probably making room for Tuck because he's just a big freaking heavy. Like you'd like to see him go head to head with Canada based on, his style, but I just don't know in the Olympics how it plays. They're going to need more out of Jack Hughes. Like he didn't have a good tournament. So, all right, let's go to the D and the goalies. We already kind of hit on the goalies and the D a little bit. Well, what did you have left?
No, I wanted to say one last name that we didn't really bring up who like could be a big impact player on this team. Someone that like probably doesn't get the league recognition that he deserves now, but like Matt Boldy, I think is quietly becoming like one of the really good, consistent players in the NHL. Like his last 2 seasons have been pretty damn strong, and his playoff last year in that first round, him and Kaprizov dominated Vegas.
Yeah, no argument for me.
Yeah,
like he's tremendous.
Basically been a 30-goal scorer for the last 3 years. I mean, he had 31 in his second season, 31 goals.
Didn't he have a good Four Nations too, if I remember correctly?
Great Four Nations, yeah.
Yeah, I remember him being really good at Four Nations. So, listen, he's just going to keep getting better. He's young too. I mean, he's young too. So, all right, let's go to the back.
Before we do defenseman, I want to just do a quick word from our sponsor, Outwest. From early morning skates to late night league games, Outwest polos are built to keep up, lightweight, breathable, and made to move. They're clean, sharp, and built for guys who don't want to wear the same thing as everyone else. So head to outwest.us and use our code Cuppa, CUPPA, in all caps for 15% off of your order. Now let's get into the defenseman. Here's my list. Do you want me to go through it?
Yeah, sure.
This is my blue line and my goaltenders. I have Faber, Fox. Again, these are not pairs, just alphabetical order. Faber, Fox, Hughes, McAvoy, McDonough, Sanderson, Slavin, Werenski. So I added Ryan McDonough to the back end. And then in goal, I got Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Swayman, which I think, how could you not have those three with Joey Decord as the fourth? But how could you not have those three out of those 4 guys?
So you put any thought into like your pairs and how you're using these guys? Because like, I guess my question for you would be is like, how do you see McDonough? I thought you said you had McDonough on.
I do have McDonough.
Put his list.
In my 8. He's in my 8.
Put his list back in. Where do you see McDonough fitting with this group?
I would have Hughes and McAvoy. I would have, again, like McDonough could just be a 7th or 8th guy. Like,
okay, so keep going.
Yeah. I would have Hughes and McAvoy as my top pair. I would have Fox and Slavin.
So you're splitting
Faber
up
and Werenski.
You're splitting up Faber and Slavin.
I don't know. I think having like one defensive guy with one offensive guy just makes the most sense. Like with Hughes and McAvoy, you got Quinn Hughes who can like take some risks offensively, and McAvoy backing him up. With Fox and Slavin, you kind of got the same thing. And then Faber and Slavin, or wait, no, Faber and Werenski, the same thing. Like you have one like offensive minded guy with a defensive minded guy.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty.
I think that's a well balanced blue line.
My own opinion is that that's a very outdated way to look at defensive, at like, you know, I guess like at the. I don't view.
Well, we also don't know like what Team USA looks like with Quinn Hughes on that team at Four Nations. We didn't see it. We don't know.
Listen, I don't disagree with putting McAvoy and McAvoy and Hughes together, but I just don't see how you split up Faber and Slavin and how you don't use that as like your matchup.
Your shutdown. Yeah, I mean you can, but like
as kind of that, because I think McAvoy plays against the top line every game, and Hughes is going head to head with top players every game too. Yeah. So, and then Werenski, like we were all reminded just how good Werenski still is. So. Just asking. Listen, this is all opinion. There's no right or wrong answer here.
What I'd argue, Colby, too, is like, yeah, you can have a matchup line, but when you're playing against Canada, they got 4 lines you got to worry about.
I know, but
like, you know what I mean? Like
but they do have a top line. I mean, as we saw, like someone's got to draw McDavid and Marner, and you know what I mean. If he's on that line with McDavid again, like or whomever is on that line, right? So, you know. All right, Vic, put mine up and we'll look at it. So I have Faber, Hanifin, Hughes, Jones, McAvoy, Sanderson, Slavin, and Werenski. So I guess where you and I differentiated was I had
you have no Fox, no McDonough,
no Fox,
Jones,
no Fox, no McDonough. Who's my set? I have Hanifin and Jones, right? And you didn't have Hanifin?
I didn't have Hanifin, no.
So here's the thing, and listen, I know you want to talk about the whole Fox situation with his ranking. I still think Fox is one of the premier defensemen in the National Hockey League. I mean, there's trying to say he's not a top 10 at his position. I think it's just foolish. You know, the guy did not have a good Four Nations, and I feel like everybody is basically like, oh, he can't play hockey anymore.
It's a cool thing to say right now.
Which is so stupid and so silly. This is a guy who's still a dominant number 1 defenseman in the NHL.
Can I point out one thing too?
Feel free.
Yeah. Everyone's saying like this was the worst year he's had. The guy had 61 points and finished +9 on a fucking terrible team. If that's his floor, sign me up.
Right. Yeah, listen, here's my thinking. Okay. And it's not that different than what you said about
like politics or whatever.
Lane Hudson, when you were talking about like, so if you're really not looking for offense from Adam Fox, and look, Adam Fox he does not skate like these other guys. Now he doesn't need to be a dominant player in the National Hockey League.
Never has.
When you put him out there on the ice against the best of the best, when almost everybody has the same or almost the same IQ, like you're talking about other defensemen that are in that elite category that he is on both sides of the puck, American, Canadian, Russian, although the Russians aren't in the Olympics, but whatever, right? But the American group and the Canadian group are pretty special back there, right? I'm trying to build a group here, and I'm trying to think about my pairs, right? And I'm looking at it, and I'm keeping Faber and Slavin together. I'm with you on the Hughes and McAvoy thing, right? And like, I think Zach Werenski, like you put him with Seth Jones, like I think we were again.
Yeah, we talked about that with JVR. I think
we were treated to a remembrance tour of how good Seth Jones is when he got traded, and I'm just thinking about the way Seth can skate. I'm thinking about his size. I'm thinking about the fact that he can contribute offensively, but he's a better skater, and he's bigger, and he closes more, and he plays a little bit cleaner and a little bit quicker. Maybe not cleaner, because I think Adam Fox is very clean the way he plays. I mean, like I don't think people credit him enough for how good he is.
He's got a great stick.
His stick. It's great unbelievable. Stick. Maybe the best. So, well, not the best because Slavin's would be the best, but I'm looking at a balance here, Johnny, and I'm thinking you got Hughes, you've got Werenski. McAvoy's a guy who will contribute a little bit offensively. Sanderson scored a big goal at the Four Nations, if you remember it, against Canada.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And
I 2 games.
I had a hard time finding Fox's spot in the lineup here. And so I said, you know what? I'd rather size and I'd rather skating. And I just rather guys that can get up and down the ice more, because I don't think it's going to be as physical. And I think getting up and down the ice is going to be even more important, at the Olympics than it was at the Four Nations.
Yeah.
So I still think Fox could still win another Norris Trophy to me. Like he's still that quality defenseman. I just like to me, Hughes is running your first power play. And if Fox is not running your first power play, like what are we doing? And Werenski skates way better and can also run a power play. So like if I don't have Adam Fox running one of my power plays, his value drops to me.
Listen, it's hard to argue. And, to your point of this tournament, Four Nations specifically, but leading into international play where it's best on best, it's the fastest, most physical, quick thinking hockey that could probably be played at once, right? Like that Four Nations, those games were probably faster than the Stanley Cup Final. They were more skilled in the Stanley Cup Final, clearly. And when you talk about a guy like Adam Fox, who does lack speed, size, physicality, it's hard to say he belongs on this list more than someone who's better in all three of those categories. But like what Fox does have, and you've made it a really hard argument for me to defend him, because his brain is what separates him. Everyone knows that. That's always been the case with him. That's why he was a 3rd round draft pick, because there were people that were concerned about his speed, his size, his physicality. But what has always separated him was this. With that,
by the way, can I just say this too?
Yeah.
I don't like that I have to make this decision or this argument. I am an Adam Fox believer. I'm not off the Adam Fox bandwagon. And listen, I was as blunt as I could be about his performance at Four Nations, but I am not jumping off this guy's bandwagon. I am not buying that he's the 16th best defenseman in the NHL.
No.
To me, that is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. It is insane. Like in my sleep, he's a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. And if I really get down to the list, I'm probably finding him way further down. Like
I said 7 to 10. 7 to 10.
He's probably closer to 5 than he is to 10, but he's not 1 through 5 either, right?
Yeah.
So, but he's probably had years where he was top 5. I mean, he won a Norris Trophy.
Going back to like 2020, 2021, I mean, he's like after Makar, Hughes, it's Fox as far as like stats go. But with Adam too, I was going to say like all those things that he does lack, he's always risen above. Again, like it's a guy who is kind of doubted for those things his whole life and has always risen to the occasion and outperformed what everyone thought he would do.
Listen,
so
I watched him. I'm pretty sure I called his last ever game at Harvard, because I'm pretty sure I had Harvard in the NCAA tournament that year, and UMass knocked him out. And I remember saying, like, I'm not sure because of the skating. Like, is he going to be able to do this? So it's like and then he came in and it's like, wow, he's still doing this. Like, and then he's doing it more and better. So, maybe this lights a fire under him, some of this shit, and maybe he comes out with his hair on fire this year and he plays himself onto this team. But like, I believe if Bill Guerin's picking this team tomorrow, like, I don't think he's on it. I really don't. I don't think he's on it.
And just the last thing, and listen, I get injuries happen to everybody, but like 2 seasons ago, Aho gets him with a knee and kind of disrupts his season a little bit. And then I think he like re-injures it against, I want to say, Washington. I forgot who it was. Might have been, I forgot who it was in Washington, so I don't want to say the wrong name. But now Adam Fox, with the Rangers missing the playoffs this year, he has a full summer of like recovery and getting stronger, because the Rangers, conference final, short summer. They had some pretty long runs. Like, this guy's played a lot of hockey. And Vic also, another point that Vic has too when it comes to the politics thing, Mike Sullivan being the head coach, and Mike Sullivan being the head coach of the New York Rangers this year, it's probably going to help his case a little bit. I would think Mike Sullivan's going to go to bat for his number 1D to make that team.
Yeah.
Even though it was Mike Sullivan who demoted him after one period of Four Nations. So
and he's going to be back working with David Quinn. Okay.
Yeah.
And Quinn's probably going to the Olympics with Sully. Have they announced that yet? I forget if they announced that yet. I got to be honest. I'm not in full on hockey mode right now.
Me either.
So these types of things definitely, but I would think Quinny's going to be there with him. It wouldn't shock me if Joe Sacco's there with him too. Like, honestly, he might just take his group. Or maybe he just takes the whole Four Nations group again, and it's Torts and it's I could see with Torts not working this year. I could see him not going. I'm not exactly sure how they're looking at that. So, we'll obviously monitor all that type of stuff. But look, it's going to be interesting. It's a hell of a team. You could really put two really good teams together, which is a testament. We will have to at some point. We're going to have to do this exercise for Canada as well.
Oh yeah.
But I don't see how you change anything for Canada when you won. Like, I see a lot of people saying Wilson will be on the Canadian team.
Oh, they said he was missing from Four Nations, but like, again, the IHF rules won't be as physical, so there's not really.
And like, they won. So like, who are you trading out? I mean, I forget, like, who was the forward that ended up on the wrong side of the healthy scratches for Canada? Vic, maybe you could chime in and remind us of that. But it's going to be hard to change a team like that won. I don't see how. Obviously there could be injuries.
Jarvis.
Yeah, Jarvis was probably in and out. But look, someone could be injured. Obviously, that's something that we don't really know. Someone could be banged up or whatever and not be able to go. But we should run this exercise at some point here for Canada as well.
Have they announced it? I haven't seen it. I don't think they've announced it.
Yeah, I think they did. They announced their orientation camp.
Oh, wow. Geez, last week. Yeah, I was missing out on that one.
Any other topics you're kind of dying to talk about? I mean, it's we're kind of in the dog days right now. There hasn't been a lot going on. I mean, I don't think the Milan Lucic thing is,
it's newsworthy, but it's not like.
Yeah, listen, who knows what they're doing? I mean, I'll say this. Him and his ex-wife got remarried. They got remarried this summer. So, I don't know a whole lot about the situation. I played with Luch, not a guy that I keep in touch with. Obviously, run into him here and again, and it was a pretty bad situation what happened, but I do know that him and his wife are remarried. So he's back with his family. And listen, as somebody who has kids, and you can only ever root for people to just have their families together and work things out and be happy. So will it work out as for him as a hockey player with this team? Who knows? So, all right, Johnny, listen, before we throw to the interview, why don't you talk about our friends at Proraso, and then we'll kick it over to you and Calvin. I was going to say Dahan, but Pickard.
Yep. So before we bring on Calvin Pickard, just a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care. Made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And with that, let's kick it over to Calvin Pickard. So on this week's summer episode of Morning Cup of Hockey, I am honored to bring on someone I now actually call a friend, and it should be believed that we are friends. And Colby, if you were here, he'd probably shit on me for saying that, but whatever. Before I actually introduce you, though, Calvin, we need to clarify one thing. I call you Pickard. Every time I hear your name on TV, it's either Pickard or Pickard, and no one seems to know which pronunciation is the right one. So can you set the record straight and tell us what your actual last name is?
Well, you're right. It's Calvin Pickard. I get Pickard a lot, and I don't even bat an eye anymore because I get that more than the right pronunciation. But you're right about that one.
You're too nice of a guy, I feel like, also to go correct people. Like, you kind of just roll with it whenever someone says Pickard.
Yeah, I'm just sick of trying to correct people, so I'm done with it.
Yeah, well, if anyone's watching right now, they might not recognize you. I don't think I've ever seen you without, like, a full beard, honestly. Where are you summering right now? And it looks like a beautiful day behind you. So where are you spending the summer?
Well, I'm in beautiful Headingley, Manitoba here. It's been nice. It's been nice to, kind of dial it back after such a hectic couple of years. Obviously, the summer's been really short, but it's been nice just to lay low. Spend a lot of time with the family. Obviously, people don't think about it during the year, but playing in Edmonton is a lot of travel, and you don't get to see your family as much as you'd like. So you definitely want to take advantage of that in the summer, and I've definitely done that here the last couple of months. So it's been nice, and seeing family here and friends, and just trying to recharge because another one's right around the corner.
Has this summer felt any different than last year's? I know you just mentioned like back-to-back shortened summers, and obviously the results the same, but has it felt any different at all?
I feel like it's been way quicker, honestly. We got back to Winnipeg end of June again, and we were in France, made a vacation out of Leon's wedding there. My wife and I went over there, and that was a fun week. And it's kind of a lead up to that 3-4 weeks after the season till that vacation, and that kind of like split up summer. And then once we got back, there's only 3 or 4 weeks till we left for Edmonton. So it's felt really fast, but it's been a lot of fun.
How was Draisaitl's wedding? I mean, there's been a lot of videos coming out of it. That picture of him with the cig at the end of the night seems to be the one that's making its rounds, but it looked like a hell of a party.
It was good. It was great. It was, it was a lot of fun to see everybody, in a completely different setting. It was so beautiful over there. It's not real life, coming from Winnipeg, going to the south of France, it doesn't feel like real life over there, but they put on a hell of a week, and, there was a big party on Thursday, and then obviously the wedding was on Saturday. So it was special. It was classy. They did so well with all the planning, and it was so much fun for all of us.
I know you told me before there were a lot of MVPs at that wedding, but is there any sneaky good dance floor guys on the Oilers? I mean, it could be you. From what I've heard, honestly, you're pretty underrated when it comes to the dance floor.
I'm a bad dancer. I'll get out there. I'm a bad dancer, though. Rico was pretty good the night of the wedding. Adam Henrique, he had a good night. It was good to see him let loose a little bit. But, everybody, once you're over there, you're not going to go there and dip your toe in the water. If you're over there in the south of France for Leon's wedding, you're going to be going hard. So everybody had a really good performance.
I've always wondered too, like at the NHL weddings, because obviously there's such a thing when it comes to media. Like everyone loves, seeing pictures and videos of NHL guys partying and whatnot. But if you're just a normal civilian, like at these weddings, and I don't know if Leon had, a lot of them or whatnot, but like how often are you talking hockey at these weddings with people that are there that aren't affiliated with the NHL? Like, are they respectful of it, or is it like, oh man, like this guy's asking me about, this again? Like, is that how it goes? Like,
yeah, no, it's pretty respectful. It was a great group of people they had at their wedding, and obviously there's a lot of hockey players.
Yeah.
There's guys that were there that used to play on the Oilers. There's guys from around the league. So obviously that's a topic of conversation going around the wedding, and it always comes up. But it was a good week to, just kind of let loose and party and have fun with the guys without stress.
What was your favorite part of the south of France? I've never been.
Well, my wife and I, we went to, we stayed in Antibes. I don't even know if I say that right. We were down there for a few days, and beautiful. We took a boat down to Saint Tropez with couples from our team, and it's just so picturesque, and the food's amazing, and it was hot, and like I said before, it's not real life coming from Winnipeg for sure.
Are a couple dinners where you're waving the towels and stuff? Is that is that the play for Calvin Pickard?
It was pretty. Yeah, it was. You know what? Going over there and eating, I don't feel that full. Like obviously I can eat. Everybody knows that. But over here, I feel like I eat till I'm full, and I'm almost at the end of every meal. Over there, the portions are just way better, and I can enjoy it, and I don't feel like I'm slugging my way out of every restaurant. So it's but the quality of it's great. Everything over there is so tasty, and it doesn't make you feel awful.
It's all the walking. I feel like everyone says too. Like I remember I spent like a week in Italy, and everyone's like, everyone here is so thin, but you're eating carbs nonstop. How does that correlate? But
all I was eating over there was baguettes.
Yeah.
And if I ate that over here, I would turn into a balloon immediately. And over there, yeah, I guess you're walking a little bit more.
Mhm.
There's something about it. I don't know what it is, but we need to import all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Just to like get into hockey a little bit, I want to talk about this year for you as a whole. I mean, this was a career year. Not only did you like start the most, you won the most games, I think, in your career as well. 22 wins. I mean, can you go back to just the start of the season and obviously how things left off last year? It felt like the Oilers were back and like it was just business only, right? Like the whole vibe around the team felt different this year. Where last year's run felt a little bit more like a celebration, while this year is just like, we're here to get shit done. Can you talk about just the mentality of training camp and your approach to this season, and why it was so successful?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we came back and we hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was an emotional loss 2 years ago in the finals, and coming back short summer. You want to be ready for training camp and get right back at it. It's tough though. Going from Game 7 of the finals to a split squad against Calgary, and we kind of lollygagged through preseason a little bit and kind of lingered into the season, and then we got to a point where enough is enough, because if you dig yourself too big of a hole, it's too hard to come out of. But yeah, it's I've been on different teams before, and it's very business-like. You win hockey games, it's expected. You're just expected to win hockey games. When you lose, it's kind of a burden on you. It kind of weighs on you. But it keeps you dialed in at all times. Every game matters. Every game's important, and you're expected to win every game. And I love playing in that environment. I've been on the flip side where a win is the biggest thing ever.
Yeah, thank God.
A loss is like whatever. But it keeps you sharp being on this, in this type of environment.
And this year, I feel like also people, and maybe this is just like a media thing, but you were appreciated much more this year. I saw you right after that game on Long Island where you played the Rangers, I think the next night or 2 nights later. And it was after you had that assist in overtime to Leon. I mean, I think you had the secondary, but like still, I mean, me and your brother-in-law, Kurt, like after that play, I was like, oh my God, like he's got to print out that score sheet one day to have Draisaitl from McDavid and Pickard one. Like that was just such a cool.
Yeah, I actually might contact somebody to get me that game sheet. That's a good one.
Such a cool stat line. And here's the play we're talking about. Credit to Vic for having that up and ready to go. But after this goal, Leon Draisaitl said to the media, like, just all about your hockey IQ. He's pointing right at you right after you make that play. And I actually remember, I don't want to speak for you. I want you to tell the story. But you told me you actually tried to pass the puck to Leon. I think Connor intercepted it and then gave it to him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what would have happened if it would have got to him. It's kind of a discussion we had after. I didn't see Connor. He was kind of flying by, and he made a great pickup. And then obviously once it got to him, it was an easy pass. But I saw him kind of screaming down the side, and I just kind of tried to jump in front of their guy and get it off my stick. And 3-on-3, there's a lot of open ice. And actually, right before that, there was a scrum right behind our net too, and it was kind of tied up, and there was nobody really around. So I decided to leave my net and just go join the battle at one point. It was just one of those nights where I was just playing free, and just kind of going with the flow. And, that was a good game for me for sure.
Mm-hmm. And people right after that were talking about your hockey IQ as a goalie. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, not every goalie thinks the way that you do. And, you're up and close in front of the game, the game, and obviously you're playing with the best players in the world every night. So it's probably easy to learn from them. But is your approach, do you feel different than like what the tactical goalie would typically do?
100%. I mean, anybody who's ever watched me, obviously I'm more undersized than most guys, and I'm not lightning fast compared to some guys. And it's always been my biggest strength is kind of reading the play and seeing things before they develop. And it's definitely kept me playing professional hockey this long, the battle and compete and the IQ, obviously trying to sharpen up the other areas of my game all the time. Those have taken major steps forward over the last number of years, but those are the things that make me good, and they're going to continue to make me good.
Is there someone you can credit that to, like a goalie you either watched when you were younger, someone maybe you were goalie partners with, or a coach you had where you thought that way?
I mean, I've always been a student of the game, like watching different goalies. I wouldn't say one guy is kind of how I model it behind. I think obviously following the puck can be such an afterthought, but it's the most important thing. You know, a lot of goalies are overtaught now with technique, and I credit my goalie coach, Paul Fricker. I still work with him now, but he was my junior goalie coach. And usually you can get your hands on like a younger goalie where you want to change what they bring to the table, but he just let me play all the way through junior 16 to 19 and just let me do my thing. And then I had to sharpen up my technique once I got to pro hockey. And but he never wanted me to lose that natural ability and that IQ and the way I just float around the net. And thank God for that.
And I think, just watching you and again, like, I don't know if it's just me, like, kind of having a hockey background, but you can tell how much fun you're having in net. Like, obviously everyone, every goalie, when they're feeling it and at the top of their game, they're obviously having fun. But like when you're playing, it just seems like you're always smiling more than most goalies are. And I don't know if that's just, part of the Calvin Pickard journeyman story, which everyone seems to talk about, or just honestly your approach to every day. And I'm curious if maybe you just have a different appreciation for where you're at in the game right now, just with everything that, you've had in your career.
Yeah. Obviously there's a level of that where I'm at right now, not satisfied, but it's a nice place to be in. It's a nice position to be in. Obviously people are always trying to take your job. And, if you, don't play well for a little while, somebody's going to be right there knocking at the door. But, when I'm not in a good headspace, when I'm grumpy and when I'm not enjoying myself, that makes me play worse. And when I'm enjoying myself and out there competing and having fun doing it, that's when I play better. So I know what works for me. I know what doesn't. And, being in a good headspace definitely makes me make more saves and win more games.
So with that, which game was the most fun for you in this year's run? Because I imagine, like, even though you didn't start, that Game 4 win in Florida was one of the fucking coolest games, like, I've ever watched as a hockey fan. Like, that game was so fun. Was it that one?
Yeah, I mean, it was a treat to be a part of, for sure, looking back on it. Obviously, going into the game 3-0, I have zero room for error.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up, obviously, our first period was horrible, and we kind of hung out skins to dry there. And, 3 minutes left on the clock after the first intermission, Nobber told me I was going in. So, you don't have much time to think about it. You got to get in there, and you have no choice but to basically make every save the rest of the night. And, our team did a really good job once I got in there, and, we clawed our way back really quick. It was 3-3 by the end of the second. And, looking back on it, definitely the most fun. And obviously a crazy game for a fan going back. They score late and then overtime's going back and forth. And thankful to win that game, obviously, at that time. There was definitely some fun ones in LA too. Some crazy ones there, obviously. The game 2 in Vegas before, or when that game when I got hurt was pretty good too. But I feel like playoff hockey, obviously I got a taste of it last year, played more this year in the playoffs, and you can't beat it for sure.
Are you still too close to everything to like appreciate how fun it's been, for the last 2 years? Like, obviously, again, you guys are right there, and, a lot of fans, a lot of teams, like, trust me, there are Buffalo Sabres fans who wish they were rooting for the Oilers, like, I think players I've talked to that have gotten to the Cup final and haven't won, sometimes when they're in it, it's hard to see it for what it was because you're just, not so far removed from it. But then, like, 5 years down the road, it's like, wow, like, that was just some of the most fun hockey I've ever played. Where are you right now as far as like these last 2 years have been?
Yeah. Obviously, when you're going through it, it doesn't feel as fun as when you look back.
Yeah.
Last year, it would have been obviously a crazy story coming back from 3-0 and, all the adversity we had last year. This year, it kind of moved a little bit faster for us, obviously, being down 2-0 in the first round. And then we kind of went on a run all the way to the finals. When you're going through it, it doesn't feel as fun because you're always looking at the next game or what's up next, and all the way to the end. But once you kind of dial it back in the summer and you kind of think back to some of the moments and some of the fun games where you prevail at the end, they're fun. They're fun to think about and reminisce on. But it is tough. Going through 2 long seasons, 10 months, and coming up with nothing. It's tough, but that's why we got to get back to work for this year.
This is kind of a hard question to ask, and I say it like almost jokingly, but I feel like I am actually just genuinely curious. Will you ever watch that Amazon series, or is that completely just nope, not touching
Which
that?
one? The one from last year?
The one from last year, yeah.
Yeah, I think I actually watched a little
Oh,
bit
you
of
did?
it. Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, but yeah, it's. I remember. I feel like the cameras were always around us too.
Yeah.
I was kind of like curious to see what they would like, like put together. But I don't know. It kind of gave me the willies, like thinking about it and looking back on it, and obviously, I think they covered the whole run, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I definitely didn't want to tune into the final part of it for sure.
Yeah. I also want to ask you about I've had some good back and forth with Connor and Leon about you. I know you guys chirp each other about two touch, and I've heard that your golf game is not the best. So I don't know if you're working on that this summer, but what can you tell like hockey fans who are, kind of dying to know more about Connor and Leon? Because everyone sees the competitors they are, but I don't know if people see them like when they're chill or goofing around. Are there any stories or anything you can say about those two when they're, I guess allowed to take a breath and just chill outside of hockey? Like, what are those guys like away from the rink?
Yeah, I mean, they're two good friends of mine.
Mm.
I've met so many good people along the way. Obviously, being on 100 different teams, but I don't know. They're great people. They're fun to be around. They're funny. We find the same things funny. I don't know. We usually hang out, like especially in the playoffs, where we had a thing going there for a bit where we'd stay the night after, like we'd play on the road and then we'd stay that night and fly back the next day. So we'd always gather up in my room. I'd order some snacks, some licorice, and some candy. We'd all go back and watch a show or something. But no, they're good. They're unbelievable to be around. It's fun to be in their locker room and see how hard they prepare, they work. Because obviously when you see them out there on the ice in games, it's a treat to watch, and it's not by a fluke. They're out there, with all the preparation, the work done behind the scenes, and but no, they're a lot of fun to be around. They're generous. They're they're funny. They're good leaders, and they're both totally different people. It is really fun to be around them, and to call them friends.
Who would you say makes Connor McDavid laugh the hardest?
Probably
That
Leon.
I'd love to know.
Probably Leon. Yeah. I don't know. You can get a cheap laugh out of him quite often. Yeah. We lost a couple guys in the locker room for this year. Connor Brown was a good one. He's a bit of a spark in the locker room, but I've heard good things about Mangiapane coming in. He's a good locker room guy, so we're gonna have to feed off him maybe and spark everybody again.
And you're the guy who gets people going too, right? Like I know you're a pretty vocal guy in the room and whatnot from what I've heard. After these last couple of years, being with the Oilers, is there any different approach going into this coming season? Like it's easy to sit here and say, we want to win the Stanley Cup next year, but it's a long way to get there, right? So like what are the early team goals going into the season? Because I know someone brought it up. I think that the Oilers haven't like won the division since '87. If that's something that's even talked about, is that a goal? That's talked about? I guess, yeah. Since 1987, they haven't won the division.
Honestly,
does that even matter?
Sorry,
does that even matter?
Yeah, I mean, I guess not. You look at Florida and us last year. I think we ended up having. I think we started on the road in all three series. Then we were a home team in the finals. But some teams are more comfortable playing on the road than others. We are for sure. We love playing at home, but we had a lot of road wins throughout the year, and we'd win a lot of road games in the playoffs. So I don't know. Obviously, being a goalie is a little bit different going into camp. I'm worried about more myself and getting myself ready and make sure I'm hitting the ground running when day one of camp starts. With my career, I don't have a ton of breathing room at any point. So I always have to be playing well. I want to have a good preseason and then, just take it game by game. Obviously, there's going to be high expectations for our team, obviously.
Yeah.
But I can't look at it that way. When you're going through it, you're just worrying about how you're going to practice that day, how you're going to play that day. And That's the thing for me. Obviously, I've been on the ice and working out the last 6-7 weeks since I got back, and I'm feeling good heading into camp and excited to get going.
And just my my last one, because I know we're running low on time here, but also Vic, our producer, just said apparently it's actually the longest streak in North American pro sports that you guys haven't won the division since '87.
Crazy.
So maybe that's fuel for this year.
Yeah, win the division.
Sure. But like when it comes to the Panthers, I think obviously fans will criticize, people in the media will criticize, but like there is the other half that's like this team was just so good. Like they were just that good. And it kind of felt like when you heard a lot of the Oilers guys talk about the series this year versus last year, it was almost more so tipping the cap to how good the Panthers were. Can you talk about just the battle against those guys? Just everyone said like the most chirping on the ice they've ever heard. And just what it like, I don't know like what it was like to play against the Panthers, but these last 2 years, just the natural hatred or appreciation or respect that's come out of it.
Yeah, obviously we didn't take care of our business this year. I don't think we played as well as we could have, but at the same time, they were great. All facets. Their goalie was good. Their system was good. Their D were great. Their forwards, it was just relentless. The way they played. Obviously, I can't speak on forwards dumping the puck in and trying to get it back. It seemed like when we were trying to get offense, when we were trying to when we were down in games, they did such a good job to keep us to the outside, and credit to them. They really played well in game 5 and 6. When the series was tied 2-2, the last 2 games there. But yeah, it's tough. I think the first time we lost to them, we weren't quite ready to. I guess I shouldn't say that. Game 1 we probably could have won, and then game 2 and 3 kind of didn't have our best. Then we're down 3-0, and then we just kind of played free the rest of the way, and we really got going. And then obviously game 7, anything can happen. But this year they had a really good team, like really good, and it was tough. It was going to be tough to beat them. But obviously, looking back on it, game 2, double overtime could go either way. But that's playoffs. We had this thing work in our favor, against Vegas, and then you never know how it's going to go. So that's playoff hockey. We won the first one in double overtime. I think they won the second one in double overtime. But that is playoffs, and you got to tip your cap to them.
So my last question, just I know you got to run, and I'm sorry to keep you here for an extra 2 minutes, but if you have one message for Oilers fans before this season starts, what would that be?
We need you guys back in full force. Obviously, it's the funnest place to play. If people haven't been to a game at Edmonton, they're missing out. It's such a fun environment to play in, and it's very daunting for the other team. And we're excited to get back in front of you and hopefully get some wins right off the get-go.
Thank you so much, Calvin. Really appreciate your time. Always rooting for you. Seriously, one of my favorite guys to talk to. And I'll see you when you're in New York. Have a great rest of the summer.
You got it, Johnny. Thank you.
Big thanks to Calvin Pickard for hopping on, and Colby. I wish you could have been there. It's always more fun when you're on the interviews. It's like kind of weird when you do the one-on-one. It's more interview style, not like
good practice.
Yeah, but like I like the I get it. I like the conversational stuff more, obviously. But really thankful that Calvin joined. Obviously it's also like tough to ask those questions, right? Because like while it was a great year, it didn't end the way they wanted, and like you want to let the player know like there's still a lot to be proud of, obviously, right? Like even if you lose in the Cup final, but it's just like tough to see that when you're so close to it, right? Like if you're him. But he was great.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
You don't? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like,
what is being first loser 2 years in a row, runner up loot? Like, what is that to be proud of? Like, sorry.
I said
like,
there are Sabre fans that would have killed to be Oilers fans last year.
I don't know, but it's just what is
maybe
Billy,
it was better that you weren't on the interview.
What does Billy Bean say? If you don't win the last game, what are you talking about? What are we doing here? I think that was the line from Moneyball. Like, you got to win the last game of the year, bud, or it's not. I don't know. Like, I think it's harder to lose like that than to like get knocked out in the first round or like I think it's more challenging physically and mentally to lose like that. So, but that's all right. We have different schools of thoughts. I'm not saying I'm right or you're wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying we have a different school of thought on that kind of thing,
Yeah. But before the interview, we did talk a lot about Adam Fox, and I do want to get to our bet of the night presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game. You must be 19 or older. And right now on Bet365, Adam Fox has the fourth best odds to come back this year and win the Norris Trophy at plus 1,800. The only three defensemen in front of him are Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, and Zach Werenski. So it'll be a big, big, big comeback, even if you want to call it that. I mean, I guess last year's season was under the typical standard for Adam Fox, but when you look at the numbers alone, it's still a pretty damn good season. 10 goals, 51 assists, 61 points, plus 9. Not a bad stat line for the defenseman who's ranked 16th best right now in the NHL by NHL Network. So obviously I'm rooting for him.
Who did those rankings, by the way? Like, who rated him 16th?
I don't necessarily know specifically, but I did talk to Mike Kelly and Mike Rupp about it. Those are two guys, obviously. I don't think we've had Mike Kelly on our show, but he'd be a great guest to have. Rupper obviously comes on all the time. Do you want me to read the list, by the way? Do you want me to tell you who?
People can go online and read it for themselves.
Okay.
I don't think it's.
Yeah. I just think, I don't know. They had Evan Bouchard at 10, which
that's crazy. I mean, yeah. Fox is a better player than Bouchard. That's crazy to me. I'm sorry. That's absolutely wild to me. So, by the way, did you see Tyler trying to hit a hole in one?
I didn't tune in. Full transparency.
I watched for a couple of minutes, like maybe 5 minutes in the morning. I watched, and I was texting with Zach because Zach was doing some of the producing for it, and he asked if I wanted to come on and do a guest pop in or whatever, but both my kids were screaming and being insane. So I told him I couldn't swing it, but I was pulling for him. I would have loved to have seen him get that $5,000, but it seems like they had fun and he raised a bunch of money. But those guys have a good time. They have a good time.
A hole in one for 24 hours.
He had 24 hours to get a hole in one. And if he did, Jay had to pay him, I think $5,000 or something like that. And then donate a bunch of money to some charity, and they raised a bunch of money. I don't know the exact details, but they ended up just raising a bunch of money. I guess Tyler's hands are destroyed.
It's a lot of golf.
He was wearing a glove on each hand. Oh my God. I see the picture of Tyler's hand. He's it's so banged up, but I will say Tyler has a nice swing. He can hit the ball. So, I was rooting for him though. He didn't get it, but he lipped out. He was close. So he does have a little bit of golf game, and he did just get married and he went on his honeymoon. So he's on one right now. So we'll see maybe you'll be next, Johnny. Maybe you'll be the next shoe to drop with the whole getting married thing, but we'll save that for a different episode.
Yeah, that'll be quite some time.
Hopefully she's watching or listening tomorrow when we post it live. Sorry, I didn't mean to say her name. I caught myself there.
All good. People know at this point. It's fine.
Let's
wrap it up. That's all I've got.
Yep. Well, August 19th, it is Tuesday night. The episode will be out on August 20th at 9 a.m. So if anything happens tomorrow morning, don't be annoyed we're not talking about it. So I think we only have, 2 more this month. Or one more, and then a couple next month potentially, and then we're back at it. So Johnny does have exciting news, but we're just going to keep cliffhanging you on that. We're not going to make any Johnny Lazarus announcements right now, just because I don't have one to make. So we're
save it for when it's complete.
Yeah, once the announcements are complete, maybe we'll make them together. If they get to be complete, I guess that remains to be seen at this point. It's getting late early, I'll tell you that much, Johnny, but good show today. Good job with Calvin, friend of the show, and we'll start thinking about who we want to have on next week, and we will continue to hang with you guys once a week, and we look forward to getting back with our chat here in about 6 weeks. It's coming in quick. Titans training camp starts next week, so hockey for me starts next week. It's kind of crazy, honestly. Yeah, it's kind of sad, and this week the weather's shit because this whole hurricane coming in. So
the hurricane,
we're not even there's a hurricane. What did I say? Hurricane.
I don't know.
Hurricane Aaron is making.
I didn't even hear that.
it's making the shore rainy. The weather's shit down there. So yeah, so that's it. And so with that, we hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Leave comments on the YouTube. Let us know what you do or don't agree with from our Team USA picks. We will do this for Canada at some point, and we'll go from there. So with that, Jonny, I hope you have a good night. Say hi to the family. I know you're home right now, and I know you're doing that hockey camp this week, so you'll tell everybody a little bit about. We'll talk a little bit about that on our next show. Vic, good to have you back. I know you've been on a little bit of a bender. It's good to see your face a little bit, and we will talk to everybody in a week. So have a good night, have a good week, and we'll see you all soon.